Welcome back. So happy we've just seen the opening statement between mass and built environment. We have a great program lined up for you, beautiful presentations with 9 beautiful guests. Let's start the program. Yesterday was the Rooftop catalog. With us is Sanne from MVRDV. I'm very proud to present as our first speaker here on this roof. Sanne, the roof is yours.
This is better. I hope everybody can hear me, and I hope somebody will share the screen with the presentation, but there's nothing, so that will come. So it's my honor to present you the Rooftop catalog, which was published yesterday. It's a small study to possibilities of roofs. It all started the municipality for us to do is make this wide collection and make this drawing to literally be able to show people what you can do with your roof. You can actually show different possibilities. So the main goal of this booklet is to, it's working, fantastic. Now it's going a little bit fast, is to inspire and to open this debate. So the book starts with a conversation between Winnie, Leon, and Matthijs van Ruiven, who I think we all just met in the previous conversation each other. We also talk with people from different perspectives. So I would say let's call in the rooftop owners, and let's also call in the developers to continue this, try to make what we will present in the catalog happen. There is a huge potential. We always love numbers, so we try to put this into numbers. So if we would say, let's use 10% for housing, we use 40. Now, I am enjoying the view, but I think we're working, so sorry for the inconvenience. So as I said, 20% of sports will give already 500 football fields. So to sum up, the potential is huge. Basically, we made a lot of options. We drew a lot of options what you can do on the roof. Meanwhile, I'm trying to click to the main goal to inspire, but hopefully also to make a second book and a third book. We don't claim that these are all the options. We don't claim that this is just offer an overview. And we're open to debate the next book. Should it be about policies, about structure, even more options can we come up? Let's take 12 building typologies that are somehow generic for the city environment. And for example, a large urban block could be a shopping mall, but also a parking block. Said sustainability should be a later layer underneath. Always add extra green. Additionally, water on top, make it in a sustainable structure itself. And of course, combinations are even better. So green and energy. Every option is kind of parameters. So we have, first of all, types of roofs. Then we have the other building sustainable development goals. Of course, the ones that are relevant. And then last, we have the urban challenges. And I don't want to say it will solve it, but at least it will help solving it. So then we have the catalog itself. We divided that in several themes because we had so many options and we needed some kind of structure. So I will start with sustainability and greenery, with just a few from the catalog. What we did here is a lot of options about green. Some are accessible for people, but we also have some roofs that are mainly for biodiversity. So for example, the butterfly garden or the falcon spot. We also really like the cemetery. Then we have densification. Sorry, now I'm clicking too enthusiastically. So basically we made a range from very large densification to also very small work units. For example, I just had a lunch workshop with the people from Dakdorpen. So that is the tiny houses village. So that's actually at this moment being built. So that's really nice. Sports, what would be nice if we have all this extra space for sports, we can also think about sports that are a little bit less common in our city, so we have more possibilities. And then we have, I think it is, the next one is recreation. So what we did there, okay, I have to round up. So we had a slightly delay due to the technicalities. So we really like the roller coaster in some options. We also let our fantasy go. Roof can be interesting to functions in the neighborhood because it's a kind of private. And the last one is mobility, energy, and the utility. There are some options that might happen in the future, like the Hyperloop station or the Skycar parking, but we already wanted to put them in. And basically this resulted into 130 options. And I have to say that we had a lot of fun in drawing this, in making it up, at the end making the entire collection. And of course, I think due to the time, I quickly skipped the chapter about structure. We try to define some thumb rules according to structure so that you can easily with some matrices see, okay, I have this type of roof, I have this principle, what could I possibly add on top of my roof, because it's of course a major aspect to take into account. I'm now on the front page. I don't know. Okay. And what I quickly wanted to show in the short time we have, that is the fragment, because of course that's the next step, and that's something we're really keen on. What we did is we took a part of Rotterdam. It's not a Rotterdam rooftop catalog. It's meant to be used by every city. So I also want to ask everybody, just use it if you want, and show it to rooftop owners to get things done. But of course, this would be really nice. How can we implement this on a part of our city? How will the city grow in this way? How will the layers be connected? We also think the ground floor is just one layer within this vertical landscape. And this is basically our dream that we would definitely want to realize. And then I want to finish up with a big thank you to Leon and the Rooftop Days for making the publication possible, for the Municipality of Rotterdam. I have to mention there Paul van Roosmalen, to the MVRDV team who made all the wonderful drawings, and also to the consulting team with Esther, Jan, Henk, and Maries. I hope this was in time.
Sanne, thank you so much for your presentation. We're really sorry for the technical issues. Of course, to thank you, you probably already have one, but
yeah.
a rooftop catalog.
Oh, fantastic.
What else? Also, we are going to go out of this Zoom right now, this Zoom call, because we have some technical issues.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, but I'm Jakob from JAJA Architects, and I have approximately 10 minutes to go through this project, so I will just jump into it. What I want to show today is a parking house, and parking house with a combined playground and public space on the roof. It's situated in Copenhagen in something called the Northern Harbor, and it's a huge development plan where a lot of things are happening in these years. As a part of the local plan for this area, it was an existing neighborhood with a lot of old industrial buildings, and they had a lot of red buildings. So in the local plan, they asked us to work further with the tones of the red. So our assignment was basically this huge chunk of concrete. It was like it was kind of pre-designed from some engineers, where our task was basically to make a greenification of the facade and make an accessible public roof. So the first thing we did was that we made the concrete, we put pigment in the concrete to make it into a red and beautiful color to kind of relate to the area. The next thing we did was that we worked with a a planter concept for the facade so we could make it green really quickly. And the last thing we did was to introduce a stair to somehow make a good connection from the ground floor up to the rooftop. And then, of course, invite the public up to a public rooftop. So this is basically the render for the competition. This was the vision of creating this characteristic machine in the middle of a very dense new urban development. So this is, it's still under, like the area around is still under construction. But this is more or less how it looks today. And this picture was taken 1 year after the opening. So basically what you see is that it's a pretty a big building. It has the red characteristics. We have worked with the planters that somehow scales down this this big structure, and most importantly, we have the stair somehow connecting the ground floor to the rooftop. And talking about like the layered city is of course extremely important to kind of connect the ground floor and the top floor, else it will be a very exclusive and hidden quality. And that's basically also why that working with the rooftop, we had some height restrictions, so we could not make a higher facade as such. But you can see in the back here, like that, you can already see the structure of something happening up there. It's a bit abstract, but that was like the key to kind of invite people and make people curious on what's going on top of the roof. As you can see, the planters, instead of growing the plants from all the way down to all the way on top, we wanted to ensure like a really green and lush building. So we spaced out the planters throughout the entire facade. And of course, these planters also is a part of breaking down the scale and giving relief and depth to this huge building. And of course, it also creates a quality from inside. An important kind of element of the stair, which is for some maybe obviously inspired by Centre Pompidou in Paris. A thing we wanted to tell is also that in an industrial environment where we see a lot of really quick urban development and we kind of almost forget its industrial history. So along the stair of course has two purposes. It's connecting the different floors of parking, and of course inviting up to the roof. But we wanted to tell a story of the industrial development of the area. So this is basically a huge mural designed by Rame, which is a graphic design company, and it's basically highlighting different key points of the history until today. Another thing that was important was basically also that you can see the handrail of this project is basically what continues up on the rooftop. I will get back to that. So here you can see the facade today with the laser cut industrial history onto the facade. And here you can see people in all ages getting up on the roof. A part of the stair, and since this rooftop is themed as an outdoor fitness and playground, it was quite funny with the stair going up 6 floors. So to kind of give it a theme and to activate, there's a timer. So when you start the staircase in the bottom, you can push a button and there will be a timer up here that counts the speed. So when you come up, you press the button and then you can hopefully have the local record of climbing the stair. So this is the rooftop, and you could just see the handrail coming up here that somehow turns into this kind of playful wireframe of the different spaces. And as I said before, the overall of this roof is like an outdoor fitness, CrossFit and playground. And it actually comes from the history that in the first generation of parking houses in Copenhagen, the users and the municipality realized that these structures were very popular to run into for joggers. So they were actually running inside the spiral for the stairs, because the Danish runners and also probably the Dutch, they were missing some hills. So they wanted to run inside the parking houses, so they would be running on the ramps. So now, of course, the runners, they can run up to the stair, they can run up and down on this thing, and they can also run down the other stair. So that's basically where it came from. And our task was, of course, to unfold the activity on the roof. Another interesting element of coming up to the so-called layered city was that Copenhagen is roughly 5 floors high, the entire city. And out here in this industrial areas, we had these silos that are transformed into housing. And of course, coming up in this middle layer, in one way, you can somehow be deceived by the scale. So sometimes you can think that you're on the ground floor and this is a 5-story high building. But of course, if you go to the edge, you will then overlook the entire city with a pretty spectacular view. Because it was a playground, we also had to make the fences 120 high, which was of course an internal struggle for us. But at the same time, safety was of course also important. So so basically, you see a lot of people basically hanging over the fences and chatting and overlooking. The wireframe is structured in a way that it creates a lot of different kind of spaces. So we use the wireframe to twine it around and create different niches and spaces. So you have the playground, you go around the Panama football pitch and a climbing tower and so on. So we use it as a spatial element. Here we have the playground. We wanted to somehow also take advantage of the fact that once you're up on the roof, that you can climb even higher and have the most spectacular view over the city. So there's a lot of people basically hanging on top of this one. The other element of this wireframe was also that we use it as a spatial element, but we also program it with a lot of kind of activities. So of course we have the swings around the playground area. We have the bars for exercising, where you use, of course, the body as an active element. And we also use it to create green kind of niches. Another thing which is maybe also relevant in terms of the rooftop is that in Denmark and I guess in general is that there's also a lot of wind. So we created this sheltered benches that really protects the human body, and they are extremely popular both for 2 people as a little romantic thing, but also just hanging out. The structure in itself is also an abstract, playful thing, and it's quite surprising for us to see how people are engaging with these structures. Along the edges, we have seating and we have green. And for the fitness clubs, there's a lot of voluntarily clubs that are organized here. They all have their own storage in big boxes, so that they don't need to bring the equipment every time. They can come up, unlock the box and play. Another thing, if I'm about to probably round up, is that the combination of a playground and fitness and all this has created a really special place where there's a lot of different user groups using this thing. And sometimes we see people looking down onto the trampolines, and for some of them, they get a quite big surprise when they realize that they're jumping on top of the big parking ramp. That was my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Jakob. Can you make me host again?
Yes, I'll stop sharing, I guess.
That would be great. Thank you.
I think Jakob has ended this meeting for us, so I hope people will get back. We are very sorry about the technical difficulties. We hope this will be the end of it. A roof catalog will be on its way to Denmark for sure. As our next guest, without any further ado, we have Irma van Oort from KCAP. KCAP. The roof is yours, Irma.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I have 3 statements to make today, and this is about the layered city, the layered sustainable city, which is the subject of today. And first of all, I want to make the statement that we need the mixed-use city. This is the Rotterdam project, the Wijnhaven IO in Rotterdam, which was a former office area which we made a plan for, an urban plan for transformation, so that this solitary office area became a very mixed use area. And because it's already some time ago, it was done in 1985, I think, you can see what happened. We let all the different owners, we had a lot of different owners, all offices, as I said, 5-story high, which we invented a rule, and we call it the slender rule. And this is about making a tower. And they could make a tower on their own plot, and it was only allowed in making houses. So the higher you could build, the thinner, the slender the tower should be. And that has to do with all kind of programming of the area, because we think that if you add more square meters, finally you are also making more facilities on ground floor level. And as you can see, the FAR was at that time 3.7 and about 100,000 square meters, only offices, as I said. And we changed that a bit by giving this rule and make it in the destination plan. And as you can see, already in 2017, the FAR reached the 7.2, and it was around doubled in size, 200,000 square meters. But also you can see that the amount of offices shrank to 31%, and the residences were added to almost 60%, related also to commercial, culture, and leisure. So finally, it became an area, and as you can see nowadays, 2020, with a FAR from 9.8, 300,000 square meters, really became a part of the city, but also a sustainable part of the city, because it became part of the city because this mixed use program. And that's, I think, what I wanted to say is that the past only blew in offices. The 2020, almost a lot of residents came back to the center part of Rotterdam, and related also with nice plinth facilities as leisure, culture, of course underground parking, and a bit of offices still. And here you see the references and the pictures nowadays. It's really became a part of the city, but also on the public space related to the programming of the plinth, and not a dull, not a 24 hours active area. And nowadays it is. So the second point I want to make is about the DNA of the city. It's about the history. It's about what the city was, and what it could be in the next future. It's very important to look at the history, and at this, if you see a site like, for example, where our office is nowadays at the Piekstraat, it's the yellow building in the middle of the picture. And this is an area where is only working factories and not a lot of housing. Maybe you know the area because Skateland is also part of that, and they are in an industrial building having the most fun skate experience you can imagine. But nobody knows, only families. If you look at the history and look at the historical picture, then you see that even more factories were at that site. Knowing that is that if you see the pictures from then, so the Persoonshaven and the street, the Piekstraat, which is still an industrial street, but at that time it was even more factories and polluted the water. And nowadays you can see there are still remains and industrial buildings which are still there, and also our office is there. And we're having fun, of course, as one of the new visitors of this area, but we made also a plan for the future. And we related these old buildings together with new buildings, but of course then also is important not to make only active plinths in the industrial buildings and putting new functions and facilities in these industrial buildings, because there are no factories anymore, is that we combine it with housing and working related to our time. And that's, again, this function mix we like to have in this area. So we, of course, densified the area with square meters and volume. And for the industrial buildings, we made a kind of scheme that respects also the old buildings and the industrial buildings, but giving also a new view to the future. And for the side on the other side of the area, which is more to the persoonshaven, the water-related functions to the persoonshaven, not only harbor-related, but also facilities combined like cafes and bars, but also you can put your boat next to your house is one of the features of the new raamwerk. And that's the plan where architects could develop new plans in with respect to all the qualities we name in this document. And here you see the new buildings or the references to the new buildings. And to your left side, that's the building we are making at this time. And building has start, and we call it the Piekstraat Punt. It's the first residential building we are going to develop there as an architect. So come and join us and going to live there. That would be fun. Yeah, and then in the last statement I want to make is the livable green city, because we see nowadays that more and more people are going to live in the city. And we developed a plan within a new high-rise vision of The Hague, which of course has all these rules in it that you can build as high as you like. And that's, I think, in a lot of cities going on at this moment. The higher, the more beautiful. And they all have a kind of relation to a kind of layering, 25 meters as a sort of plinth with facilities. And that's 25 meter high is already a lot. Huh? That's about, say, 8 levels, 7, 8 levels high. So that's quite a lot. And then on top of that, you build the tower. And we made a plan to, in a way, scale down these 25 meters to the public space. So not only programming is important, but to put more green in the city because of heat stress and climate adaptability. It's important not only to think about putting green in the streets, but it's also important that it's not green only on the roofs. I'm standing on a roof and there is nothing like green here. So this is quite an opportunity to do something, but to be here, to take all the steps to this level on top of the building where I'm standing, that's quite a lot. So it is 25 meters. I think it's important to scale down it to the human scale, and therefore we put the green also on the scaling down volume of the 25 meters until the street, as you can experience the green in the street, which will be really a place to be because we have also nice programming. But you see also on your hand the green stepping up. So the greener space will be much bigger than if you make a building with an elevation of 25 meters straight on to the top. So as you can see here, you see an image of the Waldorf Street. And the Waldorf Street is quite a traffic zone. And this will be a destination. This will be a new destination of the Hague Central Station. And as you can see, we're scaling down the 25 meters to a human scale. We see also the green coming up to the buildings. And we also know that, of course, if you make towers, it's made of concrete. We cannot change that easily, especially not for 165, 175 meter high. So on ground level, in this 25 meter, we take the wooden construction. And the wooden construction is very nice to touch, but it's also related to the green we are making in the place itself. And then I have to end with a statement which is related to the manifest which is made. And as I said, the coming decades, more and more people will live in the city. To make the city livable, we need to face the problems of the city: heat stress, climate adaptation, and making our cities more green. every new densification project should give back green. So I have a new rule, which will make the city much greener than it is now. The new inner city transformation rule is the square meters footprint you have should you put on roof terraces and balconies, and within this square meters, you should make 50% green related to the biodiversity of this whole building. And I think if we start doing that with new developments, we will talk to each other 10 years later and see that the city is much greener than we can see now. Thank you.
Irma, thank you. You can come back in the screen if you want. We're very happy with your presentation, with all your efforts for this whole Rotterdam Architecture Month. You were also in the start, one of the first meetings of the Rotterdam Architecture Month. To thank you, of course, for you, we also have a rooftop catalog.
Great.
So, yeah, so thank you. I hope it gives you more inspiration.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. So all our technical issues should have been helped by now. We are completely ready, and not for nothing, because we have a special presentation coming up. It's not just one guest, it's two guests. The launch of an actual roof valuation tool. Not only the financial value will be measured, but also ecological and social. I'm very proud to present Marloes Gout of the Municipality and Douwe Fischer of Arcadis. The roof is yours. Good luck. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome at this workshop. My name is Marloes Gout, and I work for the city of Rotterdam. And so we've talked a lot about rooftop use, but as a municipality, we know that most of the rooftops are not ours, not from the city of Rotterdam. And how can we convince all the other rooftop owners in the city to make use of their roofs? So therefore, we asked Arcadis to develop a tool where you can see the value of rooftop, because that's what we that's what we focus on our rooftop program, creating value on rooftops. So I would like to hand over to Douwe, and he can explain how this cost-benefit analysis is built up.
Thank you, Marloes. So for every project, you have to make investment decisions, and often these are cost related. So what happens to all the benefits that you have from other effects that your program has? How can you weigh each of these next to each other? So that was the aim of this tool, is to provide you with insights, not only to your financial business case, but also to the social cost benefit. So effects of your project can often are qualitative, but nowadays with research, they can be quantified. And in this tool, we also monetize a lot of the effects of a project. And this will allow you to weigh your costs and your benefits on a different level. Next slide. I think we might have some technical issues. Well, then I'll just try it from the top of my head. So on the next slide, we would show what type of benefits there are. Oh, thank you. It just jumped. So as you can see here, on the left, there's a financial business case. It's very much simplified. And on the right, there's a social cost benefit analysis. It might be possible that your investment is actually negative, or your balance doesn't come out in the financial business case. But because of all the social benefits that your project has, it might be a positive effect for society in a whole. There are a lot of different benefits that can be measured nowadays. On this slide, you can see quite a few of them. And most of these are actually, it's possible to monetize them, and that's what we've integrated into this tool. And also you can see, for example, BREEAM. So the tool will also show you if it adds to the possibility of earning BREEAM credits, for those of you who know what BREEAM is. So the tool consists of 3 steps. In the first step, you show your current roof and your current building. You put in the data that you have on your roof, and that's the basis with which the tool will calculate your cost-benefit analysis. In the second step, you fill in the design of your roof, and as you can see here, you can actually click on the box for multiple different functionalities of your roof and combine them or adapt them later on if you have different designs for the same roof, if you want to make a decision between different designs. And once you've clicked on a box, it will then show you some other steps for you to fill in, which consist of, for example, the surface area or the cost of construction, but also which type of roof you would like to have. So, for example, this is a green roof, and it's possible to have like the basic herbs, but you could also go a step up and create a nature roof and plant trees, or go up to some sort of roof garden and create a social event in it as well. And so, for example, if you had a blue roof, you would have to fill in, do you want to reuse the water? How much water can you collect on the roof? And then in between, and then after which, the tool will calculate your costs and benefits. And we will show this with the next case study we performed. They had 3 different, they're working on a sustainability vision for their museum, and they have 3 different designs, and we're going to show you the results of one of these designs. It's as the social cultural icon. So on the first, this is the financial business case for this case. As you can see, it turned out to be quite positive for this design. So this will be the core of your results. And it will also show you which the investment costs per type of design for your roof. So in this case, the yellow roof, which is part of the design, will cost the most. And for the social cost benefit analysis, you again have like the total costs, benefits, and the balance. And then furthermore, it will show you the different benefits and how much they benefit for your tool, and also in relation to each other. And then furthermore, we have some quantitative and qualitative benefits as well, such as the amount of water that you'll be collecting, the amount of energy you'll be producing, whether it adds to your BREEAM credits. And also we've quantified biodiversity in a way and tried to bring a view of if biodiversity adds anything. And then I would like to present it back to Marloes.
Thank you, Douwe. Yeah, it's really interesting to see that there are so many ways to present results. So both BREEAM points, nature points for biodiversity, and also, of course, the financial business case and the social cost benefit. So I think it's a really broad tool. It's easy to use. You can fill it out for your own project in only 15 minutes. So yeah, I would all invite you to use this tool and to work on your own project and to really see what's best for your roof. You can find the tool on our website, and it's rotterdam.nl and /urban roofs, or in English, it's rotterdam.nl /multifunctional roofs. And thank you for your attention.
Douwe and Marloes, this was the actual launch of your tool, right?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Well, I don't think it's an actual launch before there has been champagne. So, of course, we have a bottle of champagne to congratulate you with this beautiful launch.
Oh, thank
I'll
you
give
very
it to you.
much.
Thank you.
Yes, I would, of course, like to join in on that. So if you're still here, I'm going to open that right now. I'll be done around 4. Yes, thank you. And of course, also for the both of you, a rooftop catalog.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And see you too, Douwe.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. For our next guest, we ask you for some flexibility again. Our program states Christian Koreman from ZUS. Unfortunately, he was not able to make it, but we found a guest, arguably even better, no one less than Robert Winkel from Mij Architects and Planning. Robert, what are you going to speak about today?
About the first real wooden building in the world.
The first real wooden building in the world.
In Rotterdam.
Well, that sounds really exciting. The floor is yours, or
Thank
the
you.
roof is yours. Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you for the roof. Hi, everybody. I'm Robert Winkel of Mij Architects and Planners. I'm wanting to talk about SAWA, which is the first real wooden building in the world, which is difficult to achieve. Black screen, is it? And the first wooden building. And the wooden building is not actually the main issue. It's about. Can you see an image over there? Me neither. But the wooden building. Ah, look, we got visual. And I'm also a developer. I'm the architect and developer of this building. We are doing it without. I can't see the image. That's the problem. It's a black screen here. Is it? I saw core values. I hope the viewers will see some image, but it's about core values. And actually, we have to begin things from. This is the and a lot of images are missing. We have to start developing things not from shareholders' values, but from shared values. And the core values of SAWA are, I'm a developer architect, is that we want to achieve something for the neighborhood and something for Rotterdam, for the people. We're densifying a lot and we're not giving any presents or gifts to the people. And we have to do this. And this building consists of a wooden building that contains CO2 instead of emitting it. Okay. Yeah, go back to the heart. And the main thing is that we do things, we design things as my architects with respect for the society, for the environment. Next image. Yeah, so this is SAWA, the wooden building. It consists of wood. The whole load-bearing construction is made of wood. It's flexible, it's open building system, but also 1 kilometer of planters are added to this building with biodiverse plants and vegetation. Another image. Yeah, it's about containing CO2 instead of emitting it. It's making community. That's one of the core values. That's the shared values, and confirming or enforcing the biodiversity in the area. And we do it all for the people. And we don't do it for us as an architect. We have a shared community. Half of the apartments are affordable rent apartments, and we don't have a lot of pipes and ducts in the building. We all take the air out of the outside, and that's also an important issue. It's about health. When we developed and designed SAWA, the thing so it's important is the history of space, of the place. It was a former pier where boats went to Indonesia, but also we talked a lot with people in the neighborhood. We connected things with the facilities in the neighborhood. We made meeting spaces, everything. And when you normally, as an architect, propose these things, then people say these are stacked ambitions, but all these stacked ambitions can be made. Next image. Because we are going to make this building in the end of this year. And it has won already 3 prizes and 86 publicities in the publication, sorry, in 1 year all over the world. Next image, please. You can see the planters. It's in the middle of a very stony area, which is called the Lloyd Pier in the city, no, not in the city center, but near the city center of Rotterdam. And there's a lot of terraces. The outside space is approximately 40 square meters per each apartment. It has a big deck where people can meet, and it's also connected to a garden which is there in the neighborhood. And next image. From inside, the floors are made of wood, but also the posts and the beams. And on the, and it's very important, on the wooden floors, there's no concrete. There is recycled pebbles from rooftops. We use rooftop, the Rotterdam rooftop days. And so everything is demountable, and it's typical circular economy. Next image. You got a beautiful view over there. This is one of the outside spaces. And this is the nice thing when the day is over. We can see the nice sunset, but also in the mist, in the fog, it's also a very nice image. The water taxi, typical Rotterdam. We, as an architect office, we work first with retro first. That's very important. What there is, we have to use, and we concern and we have a lot of respect of everything which is around us. We are a typical office who works with the means of included. You have to know everything to do one thing. Next image. And we work also around in Europe. We got a big project near Moscow, but also in France and Germany, doing a lot of projects at the moment. This is our pitch, more or less, of my architects and planners and the building SAWA, the multi-layered city.
Yes, very interesting. So
Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Oh, that's good.
Do you think the future should be completely wood?
No, not completely, but more than now.
What do you think are any other materials that could be of use?
Yeah, we can use also more plant and other materials, but bio-based is very important. We must see if we can use that more. But now it's nearly not being used. So, and for every tree we use in this building, we plant 3 trees back. So it's also important to know this.
And as an architect, when you design a wooden building, does it give you any more inspiration, more than using any other building materials?
Yeah, the nice thing is that wood sounds very technical, but it's all about a way of living, about healthy living. And that's what we all concerned about after this 2 years or 1.5 years of COVID. So I think wood stands for healthy living.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we need Caro from Venne now, of course.
Okay, thank you.
No,
Bye-bye.
you're not done yet.
Okay.
Because, of course, we want to thank you.
Oh, wow.
As you might know, yesterday was the official launch of the Rooftop catalogue, and to thank you for all your hard work and all your inspiration
thank you
during
very
this
much.
Rotterdam Architecture Month and the Rotterdam Rooftop Days. The actual Rooftop catalogue.
No, nice. And one building of us is in this catalog.
Really? Which one?
It's the Phoenix building, which we
the
did.
Phoenix building.
This one. Oh, one of the most beautiful buildings in Rotterdam. It won so many prizes internationally. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Leave it to you.
The clicker, very important. For our next guest, another beautiful building here in Rotterdam. I actually don't know, Caro. Can you come into the screen? I was wondering, when do you think it will be done, your beautiful building? Or is it all going to be in the presentation?
It's going to be in the presentation, but it's a duo complex. So the first part is finished, and the second building, the CasaNova, will be finished in about 1.5 years.
1.5 years. Well, good luck, and good luck with your presentations. Thank you for being here.
Hi, welcome all. Oops. Is it going? No? I'm live.
So yeah, we're both live. But, see, your presentation is working right now. I was just trying to.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. My name is Caro van Venne. I'm founding partner of Barcode Architects, a firm in Rotterdam. And oh, now it goes really fast. Yeah, but can you go back to the beginning? Because this is like the slideshow in 2 seconds. Or shall I click on the computer? Ah, okay, cool. Yeah, so we are an architecture firm in Rotterdam, and I have to say it's a great pleasure to have an architecture firm in Rotterdam, because Rotterdam is a city which is in motion. It's going up. This slide shows in red the buildings in the 19th century, till about 20 meters high. Then after the war, we dared to go up to 50 meters high, to 2,000, 100 meters high. And the last 20 years, we're building towers of 150 and 200 meters. And of course, it's not only about height, it's moreover that the number of citizens in the city of Rotterdam is increasing, about 40,000 since 2013. But moreover, the citizens in the city center of Rotterdam are increasing. And I think that's very important, because the city center used to be rather dead in the evening. It lacked vitality, and there was a huge task how to make the city center vibrant during the whole part of the day. And also thanks to the increased amount of tourism in Rotterdam, there's more vitality in our city. My story today is about the two buildings marked in red here, Wijnhaven 69 and Wijnhaven 65. And our office is just below the word Google. And myself, I was living around 2012, close to the market hall, or in other words, every day passing these two buildings. And by then it was an office area, which you see here on the map, rather close to the market hall, but it felt a bit dead, desolate, and not much happening. And somehow that's surprising, because here, about in the same center, you see the map of Rotterdam, and again, the locations. And this location used to be in the absolute city center of the harbor of Rotterdam. A place where the notaries, the insurance companies were dealing with the merchants and the ship owners. This was the economic place of Rotterdam. Then, yeah, unfortunately, the bombing came in World War II. Here you see on this photograph, you will reckon the contours of the map, the same area again. Yeah, you could, in a positive way, say like it's a perfect building plot. But in a negative way, yeah, the whole city center was just wiped away. After this bombing, this part of the city center of Rotterdam grew, like as I reckoned it, like a rather dead office district. And if you analyze these maps, you also see that actually very well, that especially on the right-hand side, the map of where the shoppers move, you see that there's an almost complete white area in where on the right-hand side once used to be that vibrant economic center of the city of Rotterdam. And funny enough also, well, by the city planning, it was a part which was a bit left out. And to us, it was a great surprise, because we felt it was like a nothing point in tying also the market hall to the Maas, to the river, tying the old harbor into the cultural district of the Witte de Wit. And it was exactly at the tip of at the bottom of the building crisis in 2014 that as an office, we took the initiative to basically design something for this place, because somehow by only showing investors and developers this place, nobody was daring to step in. So we thought like we have to let the imagination flow, make ourselves a design proposal, and by that encourage design investors to step in. And we succeeded in that. So an investor bought these two plots, as sad as they look here, and the potential that we told him. And then the question to us arose. We found this dynamic master plan of KCAP, which was very interesting, because it described like the ambition to have slender towers placed on the top, and it didn't describe also a certain height. No, it described the volume of the building that you could build there. Here you see the involvement of the first plot, where we started with a plinth and a tower placed on top, which slowly grow. To the right-hand side, you saw that we started to connect tower and plinth together with the ambition, as you see here on the realized photograph, that we really place the tower with its foot in the city center, make like really abandoned terraces with loads of space for green, to basically create this feeling of living on the water for all the residents. In the further development, two important things came up. Like once we said like, yeah, it's actually quite difficult to make a tower and you know that the other one is still coming next to it. So we made the sides more closed and the two fronts looking at the city and the water more open. And we also had a strong vision to create, and you see here the first peak of it, a roof terrace on the second development, a place of community between the two developments. Here you see very well how it once executed, indeed it embraces that idea of being more enclosed to the two sides, more open to the city and the water, and the wide balconies that kind of fall as a waterfall down onto the quay and the water there. And this is the ambition that we had, these large private terraces, green added to the city, but also you see in the distinction of the terraces, the character of the different households. And yeah, the opening up, literally the opening up to the neighborhood was coming, and this ambition to create there the roof terrace, as I earlier described, like the feeling of community, like living together in the city should be really living together in the city and not being anonymous to your neighbors. So that was the start of the second development, this ambitions of community feeling, the success of these private balconies, the feeling of having a tower, which also gives vitality on the street level. The first thought that we had was, I'm still convinced by this move, making a triangle rather than a rectangle. And by that, keeping the privacy on the first build tower and opening the view lines to the two bridges. And then we thought like, okay, what did we want? A roof terrace, stepping terraces again for loads of private balconies. And then the struggle started, like how to place the triangle, how does it work with the stepping. We studied things in 2D and 3D, how to find the optimum between having shared roof terrace, private roof terrace, how do you distinguish them from each other, but also how do you add another level of complexity and intimacy to this roof terrace. And at a certain moment, we were so fed up by playing with these terraces that a colleague of mine just took this model and almost put like, as we then called it, an inverted pyramid that's upside down on a socle. And it was like, so in this way, you have like the ultimate roof terrace. It's open to all sides of the city. And it's actually the maximum space that you could have. And when I saw this, I thought like, wow, this is the perfect answer to this dynamic urban city plan, which describes for an urban volume. So what do? I take volume away where it's not much of value because it doesn't have view. I put it on top where it's a lot of value. Then I have money to do this constructive thought of making this pyramid. And I optimize the roof terrace, which for sure adds value for the citizens as well as for the city. By that, I also have a limited impact on my parking garage, another important aspect for the developer to embrace this thought. Can you click? One back. And here you see so the result was 1,650 square meters of roof terrace, a decent distance to the neighboring buildings. And by this roof terrace, a good amount of space that you could also use for making it green, making a nice urban climate in the city, as well as have the opportunity to stand with your tiptoes on the roof terrace and having a view. And I think this for us is also a very important aspect, that the roof terrace is actually at 17 meters. So from this 17 meters high, raised above like the public level, you still have well connection with the public level below. This is a building photograph as it stands on the moment. You see the connectivity between the two levels of city, and in that way you really start to make this three-dimensional city. And this three-dimensional city, basically the city street goes up in the sky. It also works the other way around. From street level, I see the roof terrace. I can make connection with the people enjoying this space here in the city center. And at the end, we also said like the two levels colored here in purple, that should be programmed, which adds something to the quality of the roof terrace. So we made their facilities as a shared kitchen, a cardio fitness. We facilitated there in workspaces together with meeting rooms and a small cardio. This is a rendering from how we envisioned that. So you see on the right-hand side the work desk and the meeting spaces. When you look through that window, you see the cardio. And this is again like the building site as it stands now. So this is this space where I just showed you the render from. And you see the connection between the roof terrace, the added program from the building, and of course the city skyline of Rotterdam in the background. This is the complex as it hopefully will look, or actually hopefully even more green on that roof terrace than it showed here in the render. I told you a storyline that how basically out of the success of the terraces of the first one, we start to play with that idea for the second tower. And ultimately that frustrated us so much that we said like, yeah, why embrace this private space? We're going to give it to the public space of this, to the semi-public space it is in this case of this 200 households. I really hope that in the future I can also convince like both ownerships of the two buildings to once in a while open this roof terrace for the whole of Rotterdam, so that it becomes also a place that you can publicly visit and enjoy the wonderful views in the city. And as I said, 1.5 months more to go. We are now on level, I think 16, and we go up to 35. Thanks for inviting me, and I wish you a pleasant day.
Caro, thank you so much for your presentation. You are not scared of high-rise, are you?
I have a bit of vertigo, to be honest, but a high-rise building, I think it adds something to the layers of the city. Yeah.
And do you think we should go like extremely high? What's the maximum? Where does it end?
Well, it should be a smart building. In Rotterdam, we're building in a swamp, so you have to put a lot of construction below ground. And I think once you have to put too much construction below ground and you don't have money left to make like this kind of fantastic spaces like public terraces, then you do something wrong. So it needs to be the right balance.
It needs to be the right balance. And do you think we found that right balance here right now in Rotterdam?
We're practicing. I mean, we're building cities for long. Since thousands of years, we're building cities. And since a good 100 years, we built cities with high-rise. So it's a matter of practicing, trial and error, and a lot of organizing debates, talks like this, and inspire each other.
Oh, thank you. I have one last question for you. We are here on the Rotterdam Rooftop Days, the Rotterdamse Dakendagen. What do you do on the roof of your buildings that you design?
Now we use them actually for gaining energy. So in other words, mostly it's used for photovoltaic panels. And that was once a discussion also for this complex, but we truly believed by adding this place on a level which still connects also with the public space, we would add more to the city.
I see. Do you already have a rooftop catalog?
I don't have one. I have a roof. I have a roof terrace myself.
You have a roof
so
terrace?
Maybe I can learn something.
Well, then I have a surprise for you, because if you open the box right, you can't see it on the camera, but there's a roof catalog right in the...
This box?
Yes, in that box.
Ta-da-da.
The rooftop catalog.
Wow.
As launched just the day before yesterday, I think. Yesterday.
And I can practice with it.
Exactly, but there's like lots of stuff in there. So after having read this, I don't think it'll only be solar panels anymore on your rooftop.
I don't dare to.
Caro van the Venne, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Cheers all.
So before we continue to the next guest, I want to show you this beautiful view one more time. I'm standing here right on the roof of the Groothandelsgebouw next to the central station. And I don't know, there's been some technical difficulties, but I'm so happy to stand here right in the sun. There's a beautiful technical team. They're working their ass off right behind that camera. And I think it's working all fine right now. I am wondering if Helen Toxopeus is already ready for her presentation. Before we do that, also, I want to say that if you switch to the other Zoom link right now, you get to Sophie in the garage. You can find a really interesting discussion between Winnie Maas of MVRDV, we probably all know him already, and Aaron Chen from ODA. But if you stay right here, we'll have Helen Toxopeus. Helen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So what do you think about the program so far?
It's wonderful. I've been switching between the two parallel sessions to try to capture everything I can about financing nature in the city. So it's been really inspiring.
Thank you. But for some reason, we've run in some time, so we're actually earlier right now. Are you ready to start your presentation already?
Yeah, I am. I don't mind. We can start now if you want to build a break in case people are expecting to come in later. It's all good for me.
I think we should start right now, but before we start, I really want to set something right. As in our program, we have said that you work at Erasmus University. Erasmus University here in Rotterdam. That's not the case anymore. You now work as a researcher for the University of Utrecht at the Sustainability and Finance Lab. Am I correct?
Yes, Sustainable Finance Lab and at the School of Economics.
Well, you can start sharing your screen and start your presentation. Good luck.
Yes, I will do that. Well, firstly, thanks so much for inviting me here. Let me share it. I'm sorry that I'm not in Rotterdam now, but close enough. And I did do my PhD in Rotterdam, so I have very warm feelings for this city. I now live in Utrecht, and I work there at the university as an assistant professor or universitair docent, as we say in Dutch. And I'm also part of the Sustainable Finance Lab, which is a think tank of professors across the Netherlands who are all working on finance from a sustainability perspective. And what I will present to you in the coming 15 minutes approximately is actually some of the results coming out of a large European project called Naturvation. Which actually ended this week. So I'm still kind of detoxing from it. And in that project, I spent 4.5 years looking into business models and finance for urban nature-based solutions. And one of the key topics I went into during this research was also the roof landscape. So I'll build both on the urban nature part, which is very related to the densification issues that cities face, as well as livability questions, but also specifically on the green roofs. So maybe you've heard of nature-based solutions, but maybe not yet. It was actually a term that was coined in the past, somewhere in the past decade, and brought into the European policy debate and defined as solutions that are inspired and supported by nature. And what's important about them is that it's a way of kind of reframing the way we look at nature, from being, a cost on our balance sheet to being cost-effective interventions that can realize multiple sustainability goals at once. And I think the presentation earlier by the Municipality of Rotterdam and Arcadis showed this very nicely as well, how there's different benefits coming out of green roofs or out of the roof landscape. And one of the key questions is, how can you then not only identify what types of value urban nature realizes, but also how can you get different stakeholders in the position that they're actually be willing to pay for it? And that's been one of the key questions that I've been trying to deal with over the past years. So in this research, there's one key challenge that I'd like to pick up today, also simply because 15 minutes is not enough to pick up all the challenges. And that's this need for co-financing to really mainstream nature into cities. Now, one of the advantages of nature that is very much put to the forefront is the fact that nature delivers multiple types of values and that it can help us respond to many different urban sustainability challenges. But the problem is that it's not just about understanding the benefits, but also that different stakeholders are interested in different of the benefits. So we actually have two coordination problems. So one is that, actually valuing these multiple benefits when budgets of specific actors are often earmarked just for one of them. And also that means that then, you need to kind of coordinate between actors to co-fund and each pay part of this part of the budget. So what we see is that there's a lot of people, just like Arcadis, who are working on, you know, really understanding and monetizing the value. And this is completely crucial and needed for also realizing financing for urban nature. But then the next step is also, well, how do we then realize the willingness to pay? So how do you get into the head of stakeholders and see, you know, what do they need and how will they actually be willing to provide some of the costs? And that's what I try to kind of show in this bottom part of this slide, is that when each individual actor looks at the costs and the benefits for themselves, being maybe a real estate party, being the water board in the Netherlands, they see benefits from investing in nature, but they also see that for them by themselves, the costs are higher. And then they will, the decision to invest is really difficult. However, if you are actually co-funding and each reaping all the benefits, but sharing the costs, then this is actually a way to create a positive collective business case where you're actually valuing bundles of benefits between actors. So I think this is, if you stop now, this is the main message of my presentation, and now I'll go into a bit more the details of it. So of course, then we're looking at the roof landscape, and one of the figures that I've ran into over the past years is this infographic that was made within the Green Deal Green Roofs, which shows all the different benefits that are provided by green roofs in a city. So I won't go into all of these different ones. But then the question is, who's going to pay for all these different green roofs, right? And if you look at an example of something of specific stakeholders that I've run into that are willing to pay for green roofs, then there's actually quite a few. So if you would look at the costs of setting a green roof on your house, there's actually a lot of municipalities that will give you a subsidy for about 25 to 50% of those costs. And the reason that they're doing it is because of the water storage value. So the ability to hold water in extreme weather conditions, which is then reduced costs into sewage and into damages. Now property owners, so people who own a building, are often interested in a green roof because it simply looks nice. So it's nicer to look at than a black roof, for example. Another reason that some people will invest into a green roof is because of the energy efficiency benefit, and especially the cooling effect in the summer that even in the Netherlands is getting hotter. Then what I've also encountered is that there's NGOs and foundations that are willing to pick up some of the cost of green roofs because of the biodiversity benefits that it presents. But then we're not quite there yet. But there's one more actor that I ran into that helps us here. And this is actually an insurance firm, Interpolis. So one of the things that they do is they also help to realize green roofs by promoting it and by bringing down the costs of green roof through collective buying power. So if you bundle and stack all these different values from different stakeholders, you can actually get the business case to work for a green roof. And this is just a really nice kind of this is one of the ways in which Interpolis markets their commitment to green roofs. And so I went to interview them, of course, because I'm a researcher and I wanted to find out why an insurance firm is funding green roofs. And then they explained to me that it's not so much the water that they're holding, but what the green roof is doing is protecting the roof and really making the roof last much longer, which then lowers their damage costs, because they saw on their own balance sheet that the damage costs from these small roofs are going up. And this is one of the reasons that they're investing into getting green roofs more into the mainstream in the Netherlands, because they expect their damage costs will go down. Well, of course, you need to practice what you preach. So this is a time lapse of the roof of my shed that I share with my neighbors. So of this building that I'm sitting here, actually, you see a very tiny little roof also at the front. I might have one of the smallest roofs of Utrecht, green roofs of Utrecht, because we also put a little green part on the erker in the front. Yeah, and this is just to show how a roof can be transformed, even if it's just 20 square meters. It can do something for an area. Now let's go a bit out to the bigger picture, because one of the things that I studied during this research project was 54 in-depth case studies of urban nature, many of them within Europe, but also some outside of Europe. And going through these case studies, I really focused on, who is paying for this urban nature and why are they paying for it? And by answering those questions and analyzing them, I managed to draw out 8 different types of business models for urban nature. And I'm not going to go through all of them now, but they run from, really funding it from risk reduction, but also based on local stewardship or urban offsetting. Vacant space model is very much about using space in the city that's not being used optimally yet. And I think this is also a very nice model for the roof. For the roof landscape, but not only that one. And the green densification model, which is about densifying and greening at the same time, is also a key model driving funding of greening in cities. So I'll put a link in the chat after my presentation where you can to a catalog which describes these models with these examples in detail. But it's not enough to just know which models are relevant, because what we find is that often multiple models, so different benefits and also different actors, are driving the uptake of urban nature. And that's why I've also developed kind of a puzzle in order to bring stakeholders together, where you can kind of identify which stakeholders value which benefits, and you can use the business models to kind of mix and match and see how you can support the financing and the uptake of nature in a specific space. And here you can see people playing that game, which involves Pritt sticks and all kinds of nice things. So this was, of course, pre-corona. So I'm not sure when we'll be able to use that again, but hopefully soon. The final part that I'd like to talk about is then the next question you get is, if you want to bring these stakeholders together to finance nature in cities, then the question is, how do you organize this co-financing? And this is where I'm also at the moment, and we want to do more research into this, because we've run into some very interesting cases of how different stakeholders are brought together in co-financing structures. And I'll just walk through 3 different ones for you as a final part of my presentation. So the first case is actually an example from Melbourne. And Melbourne suffered from extreme heat already before we did, and maybe also worse than in the Netherlands. And one of the things that the municipality of Melbourne decided to do is to create an urban forest strategy. They said, well, we need a forest to protect us from the sun. We need cooling to keep healthy citizens. And as part of this, so it's almost like putting a parasol above your head using nature. And as part of this urban forest strategy, they also decided to set up an urban forest fund. And the reason to do that is because they also saw that urban greening was delivering many different benefits for different actors, and they tried to create a place where they could bundle different funding streams to invest into urban nature. So what they did is, with this fund, they were able to attract funding from, for example, real infrastructural parties and real estate development who would like to offset biodiversity loss. So in a way, there is some parallel to the air rights presentation I think it was in the other track, where you say, well, here also we want to build a bigger road, but some biodiversity will be lost. We cannot do it in another way. Therefore, we pay off this biodiversity into a fund. We also bundle different types of municipal funding across departments. So perhaps from the greening department, from the health department, and we use this whole bundle of funding to provide subsidy for citizens and businesses who want to green their own property. Another reason why this was important for the municipality of Melbourne is that they realized that a lot of the greening would have to take place on private space, because there's just not enough place in the public realm to do all the greening that Melbourne needs. And then so citizens and businesses can get a subsidy, and they have to put in plans, and then this is co-financed from this fund. Now, another example, which is a bit similar but also different, is from Cape Town. So as you may have seen in the news, Cape Town has suffered from a very intense drought, really threatening the water supply. And one of the ways to mitigate that drought is through investing into the natural infrastructure. So here, actually, it wasn't the municipality that took the initiative, but actually a big NGO, a global NGO called the Nature Conservancy, who initiated the setup of a co-financing structure between public and private actors. And here they said, well, it's not just the public actors that can invest into the water infrastructure, but also private actors that depend heavily on this infrastructure, like, for example, Coca-Cola or InBev. And what they managed to do is to set up a governance structure, which they also use in other developing countries, which also increased the trust into this governance structure in order to facilitate the co-financing and implementation. And by bringing together these different funding streams from different actors who all wanted to reduce the risk of drought, they are able to finance the maintenance of the rivers that bring in the water into Cape Town. So this is, for example, invasive plant clearing that they carried out. Then one final example, which is a bit closer to home from the Netherlands. I also looked into more crowdfunding type of initiatives. So we found a couple of examples where citizens are co-financing urban nature as well. So for example, in Leipzig, they co-finance street trees. But in the Netherlands, you see For Je Buurt, which is a local civic crowdfunding platform where citizens, NGOs, initiatives promote their own green initiative, also other types of initiative, but a lot of them are also green, in cities to create nature. And what's very interesting about this specific example is that For Je Buurt has set up collaborations with provinces who have specific goals, so who value specific benefits that are coming out of these interventions, and they set up a match funding structure. So all the crowdfunding that you get is then matched by a province or a water board or another public actor. So that's another way in which co-financing is facilitated. That's it for me for now. I'll post a couple of links in the chat after I stop screen sharing. I hope that this contributes also to your thinking on a layered city, and I really congratulate you on this event, and I'll stop sharing my slides now.
Helen, thank you. I have a question for you.
Yes.
There's so many great different possibilities on rooftops, and there's so many different possibilities of financing it. Why doesn't everybody put a green roof or solar panels? Why is not every roof yet filled with some other program than just keeping you dry?
So I think there are still quite a lot of barriers. Some of them I think are knowledge barriers, but there are also, construction issues. One of the things I think with green roofs is that you need to kind of first scan if you're able to use a roof in another way than just, keeping your head dry. And I think that's something that will also kind of stop people from taking this initiative themselves. But I do think that, kind of it's still, I think it's a niche that is slowly moving to a mainstream, but that also takes time. We're not used to doing it like that. And I think more and more people are getting used to it. And I think the financing is an issue. If you think that it's very expensive, you may not go about it. So I think that doing it like this also creates awareness, but also makes it more feasible and not so much, this urban green elite that has green roofs. But wouldn't it be great if, a big housing corporations in the Netherlands would put a green roof on the health and the quality of life of all their inhabitants. But there it's really still a cost issue that's stopping it, I think.
Okay, thank you. Wait.
I have I'm coming in live from the rooftop farmers meeting from this morning. Because I think what you're just saying that like bigger corporations or bigger companies could actually use their rooftops. And the rooftop farmers were saying, can't we have supermarkets or hospitals join in this movement? Because we were basically talking with all these single rooftop farmers in every city one, and why aren't there more? And a rooftop farm is even like more beneficial because it has more business model behind it as well. What like supermarkets, hospitals, what would be the best partners to look for in the urban environment?
Wow. I think I agree with you that this would, it would give, especially if there's publicly accessible roofs, this would get, it could give a very big mainstreaming effect rather than niche. And I think the important thing about talking to these specific parties, which are not, maybe the inspired individuals that want to do rooftop farming, but they have a specific, they have a specific language, they have specific objectives, is to understand the way they are thinking about, where their budget is going, what objectives and goals they're trying to reach. So, for example, there's some very nice examples of hospitals, I think in Rotterdam, which have really thought about greening their rooftop also from a health perspective, because this is their core business. And I think that translating the value of nature on roofs to the language of specific actors, I think this is key. And I think that will be different when you talk to a hospital than when you talk to a housing corporation, which is really also aimed at, it's a very monetized way of looking at their property as an asset. But at the same time, you can think also about people that might, with an improved health, they might actually be able to pay their rents better, So there are all these effects. If a housing corporation is able to think long term, this roof might last much longer and it will give cost savings. Now, I don't know about, I think with agriculture, the question would be to have roofs that are publicly accessible. So then there's, you have to think clearly about which roofs you want to undertake and how. But I think that this is a step that, so I think the work that, for example, Arcadis is doing on valuation and making the benefits very tangible is really important. And then I think what's important is to translate and pick out those parts to specific stakeholders and understand what they're looking for.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really really helpful, and yeah, I think your presentation really added a good layer to what we already have been talking about today. So thank you, Helen.
Thank you,
so
Helen.
much.
A rooftop catalog will come your way. Wait, Renee, get back.
Oh,
I have
okay.
one more question for you. You can leave. You have a next meeting, right, Helen? Thank you so much.
I do. Thanks so much for having me. And next time I'll be on the rooftop with you.
So while you're here, Renee,
Yes.
this is Renee Roymans, by the way, an amazing, beautiful, and talented girl. How was your morning? You were in charge of the rooftop farmers meetup.
Yes, it was really amazing, super inspiring. We traveled all over Europe, basically, past all these rooftop farmers, very small ones, huge ones, ones that haven't even started yet. So it was really cool.
Thank you. Really good to hear.
And I learned that you can grow rhubarb on rooftops.
Rhubarb.
I mean,
well,
that's a takeaway.
It's too bad you live on a boat. Otherwise,
that's true.
You could also grow rhubarb on your rooftop. So it's like Renee just said, it's like we're going through all of Europe, maybe even more than Europe, down in the garage with Sophie. They've been all over the world. It's like we're at the Eurovision. And now that that it's 4 o'clock, I think it's time we introduce Jacques Ferrier from Paris.
Hello, hi.
Jacques Ferrier, vous êtes à Paris?
Je suis à Paris.
Oui, well, if Chantal Jansen can speak French, so can I.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here, and good luck on your presentation. The Zoom call is yours.
Okay.
You can start.
So. Okay, so Is everyone seeing everybody seeing the screen? I assume yes.
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. So I'm Jacques Ferrier from Ferrier Marketing Studio in Paris, and a great thank you for inviting me in this very interesting discussion. It has been said throughout this afternoon that the use of roofs obviously is an important issue of contemporary architecture. And to start my presentation, I go back 10 years ago when we designed the French pavilion for the World Exhibition in Shanghai. Shanghai, 24 million inhabitants. So I think that this points a very critical aspect of using the roofs is to find a space, not only more space or extra space, but to find a different space, a space where you can enjoy a different type of use and time and calmness that you will get at street level of a very busy city as Shanghai is. So you see here this this building with a roof, and it was designed as a garden, and also the garden was also turning vertically down to a patio. Normally the patio was with a water pool here, but this water pool was removable when you had some event. But it was to create a fresh, a cool breeze all day long in this patio, and then onto the roof. So I think that I assume that thanks to this landscape and this opportunity, this pavilion was the most visited, by the way, in the exhibition, with more than 10 million visitors in less than 6 months time. What we presented inside the pavilion was the concept, the idea of a sensual city. A sensual city, which is a reflection that we continue to lead for 10 years now with my partner Pauline Marchetti and the philosopher Phyllis Simé. It means that we imagine innovation that is not only functional, but that puts citizen in the center of a design, and also that we take the question of senses as a central element. So that's why also we find the roof as an opportunity to create an ambience, an atmosphere. In some talks before this afternoon, people were facing the fact that we also want to have use on this roof. It was the French pavilion, so we had a very nice restaurant and a cafe and a bar. So there was also a desire to go up there. Talking about this mixing of nature and architecture that we can achieve with roofs and with the top of a building, I wanted just to say that our project of sensual city is in fact an opposite direction to the one of the international style of a functional city, where nature is clearly separated from the architecture, as you see in this picture, taken in a very high-level residential area in Singapore. But you see what Le Corbusier was calling espace vert, but finally, literally, is just a box filled with green, but everything is separated. In fact, these cities are designed first with infrastructure. That's technology that has taken the power. And what I see in the use of rooftop is to create a completely different ambience and atmosphere, where you can't make really the difference between the garden, between the building, between nature and artificial. And when we talk about roof, we have to keep in mind that we have also to design continuities. I don't see the use of roof in architecture as sort of levels flying above the city and maybe also dedicated only to the people who have the right to go there. But I think that we have to create a resonance between street level, public space, collective space, private space, This is done with a layered design. A layered design with balcony, but what we have in this image, the roof, obviously, but also it is informed but with what happens at ground level. This is a very critical issue, I think, when we think about rooftop. I enjoyed very much to see Rotterdam. I've been there a lot of times, and I used one of the movie we produced with our research studio to also show the poetical dimension of the roof in a city. Obviously, when you see this image, you are not in Rotterdam, and it's just to say that roofs, top of buildings, are an essential part of the identity of a city. It's a sort of space between the sky and the city itself. And we have to keep in mind this symbolic role of the roof. Here we are in Marseille. We have made a comparison between the roofs in Marseille and Paris in this short video. So when we use the top of a building, again, we give far more than just a garden or a terrace, but we create a situation, which is a situation, unusual situation for the people who are going to have a chance to use it. So as I said, Paris is very different from Rotterdam and from many cities in terms of roof, because first, Paris is very dense. It's one of the 10 most dense cities in the world, with more than 20,000 inhabitants by square kilometer. In this part of Paris, Gare Saint-Lazare, we are up to 40,000 inhabitants by square meter. It means that it's only in Hong Kong, Kowloon, or maybe in Manila that you can find this type of density. And we can admire the genius of Mr. Haussmann that has managed to create such a density in this city without really feeling it. I mean, not every day. And you see our project, this project that we delivered 1 year ago, is really close to the Gare Saint-Lazare, an iconic building of the 19th century in France, with these huge roofs here, that has been painted by Claude Monet. And you see the contrast between the roofs we have created and the typical roofs in Paris. And when you see the number of trees that you see in this big picture, you can imagine how precious it is to offer a garden in this part of Paris. On top of that, when I was talking about resonance and relationship with public level, you see here that we give a public passage in the private plot. And that's the fantastic for Paris. That's really the fantastic atmosphere that we were able to offer, that you can gardening on top of your office building, having lesson. There is also a learning process for the employees with professional. And sorry. You see here this building in the density, the roofs we have seen, the public passage, and at each level we managed to have terraces which are in continuity with the working space. So you are, even in the very density, you have always this close relationship with the outdoor, with the sky, and with the season and the climate. It's very important also, this idea of taking a different time than the one you take at street level. I think once you are in a roof, you are not at all in the same pressure in terms of time that you will be in the city. Quickly, I go through also rehab. Rehab is very important. So this is Collège de France, the oldest university institution in Paris. It was a huge rehab. And you see here this roof that we had to occupy with a lot of new technical material, but we managed, so you see the new technical machines are on both sides, but we managed to create terraces and enjoy a beautiful view of Paris. And with this roof has unfortunately, as you know, disappeared recently. But it's also a very issue, at least for the old European city, to take the roofs back in the old building. So last project is the one, it's a winning entry for reinventing cities, reinventing Paris 5 years ago. This project, it's a mixed-use project with services, mobility hub, a small car park, housing on the right side, and office building. And you see, we create this garden on the roof connected with the footbridges. This is the site. In fact, the site is a void above the boulevard périphérique, the ring road, that creates a strong barrier between Paris on this side and on the other side, Neuilly, the suburbs. And we think that creating a building, in fact, it's creating a link. And you see here the concept of a roof, again, like in Saint-Lazare, we have a garden in the heart of the site, and this garden is going to be open to the public, so you can go from one part of the periphery to the other without seeing anymore the traffic. And we keep an old chapel here, and you get also views on top of the roof. So in order to span the peripheric, all the structure of the two buildings are in wood with a cross-laminated timber, and the span of the peripheric is done with a structure that is the garden. So the garden is a bridge, so the building can be adapted, and the structure of the building are fully independent of the span of the peripheric. You see all the balcony with the plants, and we have also tea on the roof, because tea is a camellia which is insensitive to pollution. And to say that we don't look at city as a problem but as a solution, and definitely Rooftop is an essential part of this vision. Thank you very much.
Jacques, thank you. We don't look at cities as a problem but as a solution. Beautiful. I was wondering, do you already have the French, like a French version or substitute of the Rooftop catalog?
I mean, no, we don't. We like to have a version of a French version of a Rooftop catalog. But as I say, what was very interesting with the last project is to find what are the plans, and obviously we have to make a selection, because when we are in a very polluted city like Paris, because we have a lack of wind, a lot of traffic. I mean, it was crucial to find the correct plantation. So that's why we choose to have tea. So there is also to be a small cafe on the roof, and you will enjoy the tea, the Paris tea, in this cafe on the roof.
Okay. Well, this Rooftop catalog right here from the Netherlands is coming your way, and I hope it gives you all inspiration, and maybe mostly like the ecological part is very important for Paris then.
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you.
Really looking for it. Thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
That was the last guest of this parallel program. Yes, now Renee, the beautiful girl you just saw in the screen, is gonna put the link, the Zoom link of the other Zoom, where Sophie is probably still in a conversation with Iran Chen and Winnie Maas. And there's gonna be an end statement, and I think we're gonna close this Zoom call. There's been some technical difficulties, but I think it's been really interesting, mostly because of our beautiful guests and presentations. I especially want to thank Sanne van Manen Jakob, Irma, Douwe, Marloes, Robert, Caro, Helen, and last but not least, our presentation just now, Jacques. Of course, I also really want to thank the whole organization of the Rotterdam Architecture Month, Bart, our technical support behind the screen, well, not support, the whole body of the technical part, and also, of course, René, Leon, and Sophie. We now all go back to the garage, to Sophie, Winnie, and Eran. Thank you so much.